This is the only truly profound supernatural encounter I've experienced from childhood to adulthood, one that still makes my whole body tremble involuntarily whenever I recall it. I was in elementary school. One day, after finishing my after-minor school tutoring session around 5 in the evening, I got home and found $100 bill and a note on the living room table. It said, "We've gone out to a banquet with Dad. Be good and stay home, don't wander around." Since there were only the three of us, me and my parents, whenever they went out, I would often be left alone in the house. So I had developed the habit of always checking that both the front and back doors were locked before I left on my bicycle. That day, I rode to the entrance of the alley to buy dinner, came back, and ate while watching TV. Around 7 o'clock, there was nothing good on, so I simply turned the TV off. Back then, cell phones weren't common and we didn't have a computer, so my entertainment options were limited. Whenever I was home alone, I usually went upstairs to my room to read after finishing dinner. I quickly tidied up, left one light on in the living room, and went to the back to take a shower. After I finished and came out to put my clothes away, I faintly heard the sound of footsteps on the second floor, the distinct clack of someone stepping on the tiled floor. The noise was loud, but in an otherwise empty house and with me standing right in front of the staircase, it was crystal clear. I thought maybe my parents had left the TV on in their room, so without thinking much of it, I decided to go upstairs to the family altar on the second floor to pay my respects. When I reached the middle landing of the stairs, I suddenly heard a woman's laughter coming from the second-floor hallway, sharp and piercing, as if deliberately making sure I could hear it. I froze immediately and stood there observing. I knew my parents' room was on the left side of the second floor, so if it had been the TV, the sound should have come from the left. But this laughter was clearly coming from the right-side hallway. While I was still trying to make sense of it, two quick sounds came from the dark staircase leading to the third floor, exactly the kind of noise someone makes when they want to scare you from behind. I thought, this isn't right. It might be a burglar. I was terrified, but for some reason my body moved on its own, carrying me up the stairs. When I reached the second floor and stood at the top of the staircase, I looked toward the family altar at the far end of the hallway. Under the red glow of the altar lamp, a half-bodied, completely black silhouette appeared. It felt like it was standing sideways, staring straight at me. At the same time, from the staircase beside me that led up to the third floor, came the sound of a woman's high, screaming and restless pacing. I wanted to run downstairs immediately, but my legs wouldn't move, so I was forced to stand there, locking eyes with that pitch-mane's black figure for about 5 seconds. All around me, I could hear a low, muffled murmuring like someone trying desperately to speak but unable to produce any real sound. Then the silhouette slowly began to emerge further, as if it intended to walk toward me. I was on the verge of losing my mind. My heart pounded faster and faster. "Please," I begged silently, "don't come any closer. I don't want to see you." Just as my fear and panic reached their breaking point, I heard the front door open downstairs, followed by my mother calling me to come down and eat something. Suddenly, my legs could move again. I spun around with all my strength and bolted downstairs, fleeing in terror. Later that night, my father went upstairs to pay respects at the altar, but he never mentioned noticing anything unusual. To this day, I still don't know what I actually encountered that evening. After that day, I never saw the black figure again, never heard that eerie laughter, and no one else in the house ever reported anything strange. I never told my parents about what happened to me while I was home alone that day. What I'm about to share next happened after I started university. By then, life was much freer, but having so much freedom actually left me unsure what to do with myself. I remembered that although I had joined the scout troop in high school, I had never been on a camping trip. I really wanted to experience real outdoor camping and adventure at least once. That reminded me of a friend from a neighboring school I had known back then. He was also in the Scouts, and during high school he had a senior who often took him on wilderness camping trips. They used maps and compasses to trek through forests, learning real outdoor survival skills. It was genuine adventure camping. So I contacted him and asked if he could take me along the next time they went on one of those trips. He agreed. Not long afterward, I received an invitation. It was a jungle-minus crossing expedition in the central mountains of Taiwan, planned as a 2-day, 1-night round trip. I was excited, thinking I would finally fulfill my dream of camping. I waited eagerly for the day to arrive. On the morning of the trip, before setting out, stopped by the Earth God Temple to pray for a safe and smooth adventure. Then we headed off. That camping trip was an incredible experience. I learned how to walk efficiently in the mountains, how to navigate by direction in the woods, and even how to start a fire using bamboo. We hiked all day. In the evening, we reached a flat area beside an industrial road, set up camp, and lit a fire to cook dinner. After walking all day, everyone was exhausted. After dinner, we spent a little time admiring the starry sky, then went to bed early. I don't know how long I had been asleep when I was woken by the sound of footsteps, very light, almost like hopping. I wondered if it might be monkeys, since we probably hadn't packed away our dinner properly. I hurriedly unzipped the tent and stepped out with my flight. I shone the light toward the campfire. The dinner was still sealed and untouched. At that moment, from behind me on the other side of the tent came the sound of footsteps again. I immediately swung my flashlight toward the sound. In the beam, I saw a strange creature. It was about the size of a monkey, covered in hair all over its body except for its completely bare chest, and it was walking upright onto legs. What made my blood run cold was its unusually large head, which looked grotesquely out of proportion with the rest of its small body. On top of that, its skull came to a sharp point, and its eyes glowed with an eerie bright red light. The creature instantly noticed me watching it. It stared straight at me and let out a cry unlike anything I had ever heard, sharp, piercing, and utterly unnatural. Terror flooded through me, and my hands and feet began shaking uncontrollably. Just then, someone grabbed the back of my shirt near my waist and snapped, "Hey, it's so late, what are you still doing out here messing around?" It was my friend. She scolded me in an extremely harsh tone, then yanked me straight back into the tent. As soon as she zipped the tent shut, we stared at each other. My voice trembled as I asked, "You saw that, right?" She answered impatiently, "Didn't they teach you anything in Scouts? That was just a Myeontak." I thought to myself, how could that possibly be? So I shot back, "I've seen Myeontakes before, and that was definitely not one." She cut me off angrily. "It was a Myeontak. Drop it." Though I found her sudden rage strange and uncalled for, I didn't dare argue anymore. I crawled back into my sleeping bag and eventually fell asleep, my heart still heavy with unease. After waking up the next morning, we packed up the tent, ate some dry rations for breakfast, and started our journey back. We returned to the Earth God Temple where we had begun. Before leaving, my friend and I went inside to thank the deity for keeping us safe and ensuring a smooth trip. Then we got on our motorcycles and rode back toward Gulu. Halfway there, we stopped to rest in front of a convenience store in Gukn. We sat drinking beverages and talking about what had happened the night before. My friend looked at me and said, "Sorry about my bad attitude yesterday, but I couldn't help it. The truth is, I saw it too. It wasn't a Myeontak at all. It was some kind of strange creature that lives in the mountains. If I had been even a second slower pulling you back into the tent, that thing might have led you away." Hearing his explanation sent a chill through me. So it really had been some kind of mountain spirit. Taiwan has many legends like this. I remember when I was little, my family would always warn us to be careful of mountain ghosts and monsters. These strange entities usually appear in forests or fields. If you follow them, you become bewildered and wander aimlessly. When you finally snap out of it, you find yourself in a completely unfamiliar place, sometimes far away. Many people have disappeared forever because of them. I'm still not entirely sure if what we encountered was truly a mountain ghost, but I am deeply grateful that my friend reached out and pulled me back. Even now, more than a decade later, When I recall that night, the bizarre silhouette appears in my mind, and I can almost hear that eerie, sickeningly sharp cry echoing in my ears. The memory still haunts me to this day. I still remember how my junior high school days were filled with nothing but studying for one exam after another. In whatever free time I had, I loved losing myself in comic books. Whenever I was doing homework, reviewing lessons, or taking notes, the moment I got focused, I'd forget all about my posture and unconsciously press the right side of my face right up against the notebook or textbook. Late at night, I would also sneak under the covers with a flashlight, devouring volume after volume of Hell to Eat Your Noob. Over time, the vision in my right eye began to worsen. Things in the distance grew blurry and hard to make out. After an eye exam, it turned out both eyes were nearsighted, but my right eye was far worse. Before long, I too had joined the ranks of the 4 Heinous-eyed frogs. Still, I hated wearing glasses with a passion. I almost never put them on unless I really needed to see something far away clearly, and only then would I fish them out. As a result, my glasses spent most of their time tucked away in my pants pocket. That day, I was at school studying with a few friends. By around 6 o'clock, the sky had already turned dark. I stepped out into the corridor, heading for the restroom. As I walked, I noticed a figure standing at the far end of the hallway, right by the restroom entrance. I moved closer, and the person called out to me in greeting. Since I couldn't see who it was, I answered, "I'm not wearing my glasses, so everything's blurry. Who is it?" The person smiled and asked why I wasn't wearing them. I told them it was too much trouble while walking and kept moving forward. They said nothing more and stepped inside the restroom. Then, I jokingly said to that classmate, "There are advantages to not seeing clearly too. If one day I see something I shouldn't see, I won't feel scared either." The person inside the restroom answered, "Is that so? What a good method." The moment he finished speaking, I reached the restroom door and stepped right inside. Once I was in, I saw that no one was at the urinals. I figured he must be in one of the stalls, so I didn't think much of it. While I was peeing, I kept talking to him. "What class are you in? Why are you still at school so late?" But there was no reply. At first I thought he hadn't heard me, so I asked again. Still nothing. By then I assumed the guy was seriously taking a dump and just didn't feel like chatting, so I quietly finished peeing by myself. After I was done, before leaving the restroom, I called out to him one last time. "I'm heading out first." Then I walked back to the classroom and saw the drill master inside. He told us to hurry up, pack our things, and go home because the school gates were about to close. I mentioned to the drill master that there was still someone pooping in the restroom. He asked me who it was, and I told him it wasn't anyone from our class, so I didn't know either. When the drill master heard that, his face tightened into a frown. He said he had just patrolled every classroom in the entire school, and we were the only ones left. Then he urged us to pack up quickly and head out. After hearing what the instructor said, I started to feel that something was off. All the way home, one question kept turning over in my mind: could it have been someone from outside the school? And if it wasn't, then what was it? I felt a chill run down my spine, fear creeping over me. I headed home like that, weighed down by an uneasy feeling. When I got back, the house was empty as usual. I switched on the living room light, went straight to my room, and shut myself inside to study. Around 8:30 in the evening, I decided to take a shower first. I grabbed my clothes and stepped out of the room. The moment I entered the hallway, I caught sight of what looked like a human shadow at the far end of the corridor, half a head poking out from behind the wall, staring straight at me. Startled, I froze. Because I'm nearsighted and couldn't make it out clearly, I quickly pulled my glasses from my pocket and put them on. Using only the dim glow from the living room, I peered toward the end of the hallway, but there was nothing there. I figured my poo eyesight had been playing tricks on me and let out a small sigh of relief, then took my glasses off again. But the instant I removed them, the shadow reappeared, half its head still peeking from behind the wall. Then it slowly stepped out into the open. It was a pitch-minus black silhouette of average heightened build. It stood motionless at the end of the hallway, head slightly tilted, facing directly toward me. Terror surged through me. What on earth was happening? Without my glasses, everything was blurry, so the figure remained indistinct. I frantically slipped my glasses back on and looked again. The far end of the hallway was completely empty, swallowed in darkness. Not a single soul. All at once, a wave of fear washed over me, and goosensed prick led across my entire body. I quickly retreated to my room, locked the door, and abandoned any thought of taking a shower. My sister would be back in about half an hour, I told myself. With someone else in the house, it wouldn't feel so frightening. I could just wait for her return before washing up. So I stayed put in my room and tried to keep reading. I don't know how much time went by when I suddenly heard the front door open and someone step inside. I glanced at the clock. It was nearly 9. Thinking my sister had finally come home and that I was safe, I jumped up and flung open my bedroom door, eager to tell her everything that had just happened. The moment the door swung open, a pitch-minus black figure stood directly in front of me, right outside my room. Its entire body was as dark as a shadow, yet everything from the neck up was horrificously clear. It was the face of a man. He stared straight at me with wide, unblinking eyes. The skin on his face kept melting and sloughing off in wet strips. He tilted his head, stretched his mouth into an impossibly wide grin, and asked in a low voice, "Can you see clearly now?" Terror seized me so completely that I couldn't make a sound. My shoulders hunched up and my heart hammered violently, as if it would burst from my chest. The shock hit me like a wave. I let out a piercing scream. My legs buckled beneath me, and I collapsed to the floor. My sister came running into the room at once and asked what was wrong. I could only lie there trembling, drenched in cold sweat, staring up at her. Once I had calmed down a little, I finally told her everything I had encountered. After hearing my story, my sister was too scared to sleep alone that night. We ended up going to our parents' room and sleeping there with them. Even though more than 10 years have passed since then, the terrifying face of that thing remains vividly etched in my mind. Because even now, every morning when I wake up and open my eyes, that face with the peeling skin is pressed right against mine, smiling at me and saying, "You can see clearly enough now, right?"